Welcome back to Ireland Radar, and today I'm delighted to be joined by St. Pat's Zack Elbouzedi. Zach, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
All good. Yeah, I suppose that the only place to start really is your start to the season. Obviously, 3 points off Shamrock Rovers. How have you found the season so far on a team level, but also on a personal level for yourself as well?
Yeah, I think on a team level, the lads have been flying. I think there was a lot of doubt and speculation, obviously, with how last season went on how we would be and how we would perform this season. But I think the lads have used that as fuel and come day one in pre-season, we really got together as a group, set our targets for the season, what we want to achieve, what we want to be known for as a team. And yeah, the lads have been brilliant. Obviously I came back from the shoulder injury last season that I picked up, and then um was getting going, picked up another hamstring injury, which was obviously frustrating, and haven't really picked up a lot of muscle injuries in my career, thank God. But now I'm back. I've started the last 5 or 6 games, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a lot of people would have probably overlooked us as like a title challenger coming into the season. Like was challenging for the title maybe something Stephen talked about in pre-season as an aim or a goal or
We didn't really talk about an end goal. We just more talked about, like I said, what we want to be known as a group, how we want people to view us. I think last season there was times where people didn't view us in the best light, and obviously as a footballer and as a team, you never want to give anyone that sort of way to describe you or that sort of excuse to use against you. So it was more process driven and what we do every day, and trusting that then at the end of the season we'll be in a good place.
yeah, obviously this season, he's done with European football and like a lot of the teams around us will have that kind of coming up later this year. Do you think not having European football will maybe be something that'll benefit you then kind of in the running in the league?
I don't know, because the 2 seasons I've been at Pats after the European ones we went of, we sort of performed better in the league after that. My first season when I came, I joined just as the European run was starting, and I think the team was eighth in the table, and then we went on a mad run and finished up there. And then it was the same last year. We were going through a sticky patch before Europe, and it gave us that sort of momentum and bonus. But I think the important thing is just that we keep the momentum going in ourselves now in the league, and maybe then we're in a position to sort of strike when the other teams are playing in Europe, and have more games to contend with. I think, look, if you look at Man United or something this season, the European football, not having the European football world probably for them in the league. Like obviously what you want to be playing in Europe, that's where you want to be as a footballer. But like you said, we can probably use it to our advantage if we keep the momentum down.
Yeah, like as you said, you have a lot of momentum at the minute. Teams playing really well. I just wanted to touch on your teammate Keane Levy, who obviously been in the league for a number of seasons now, been well known, but like seems to really having a breakout year this year. Like, what's it been like playing with him? And I suppose what do you warrant kind of his real uptick in form this season?
Yeah, I think to be honest, when I joined, I didn't really know much about him, and he wasn't playing that much. But the lads were like just waiting to see what he can do, and then I think the first time I really sort of recognised it was he came on against Istanbul at home, and he got the ball and dribbled by two or three of their players and just cracked the post. And yeah, his dribbling style is, and how the gaffer compared it to Maradona before, and obviously that's a different level, but the style of dribbling that he has is very similar, and his low center of gravity, his balance, and his ability to like just ride tackles and get back up. He never stays down too long, and he's been in for some really, really harsh treatment in games. I think teams are now taking it upon themselves to use three or four different lads to tackle him now to sort of share the fouls around. But now his talent is unbelievable. The only thing I think that was holding him back is the goals and the assists, and he's added that to his game this year. I think his performances last year were close to the level that he's at now. He just didn't have the numbers really to match it up. And I think unfortunately in football nowadays, that's what everyone looks at. Um, but now he's got all the talent.
Yeah, and obviously this is like your third season back in the league. The Pats. I just kind of want to ask you about like you were obviously in the league before in 2019 with Waterford. Where do you think the kind of the standards are compared to then, and do you see any differences in the league maybe comparing kind of those two kind of the two eras?
Yeah, I think when I was at Waterford, I think it wasn't as professional, and there was I was only getting paid. I think it was 42 weeks, and I think a lot of other teams were like that. So it wasn't, although we were training full time, we still didn't have that full professional feel. Whereas I think now every team in the Premier Division is full time. Teams are fitter, teams are stronger. There's better technical quality, I think, in the league. Then you have like Virgin showing a game every week is a big benefit to the league because then people like sitting at home are able to see what the league has to offer, and if there's a good game on, maybe that will get them more into it, and then maybe they'll come down and watch a few games, and that's how you grow the fan base and you grow the league more and more. And I think teams' performances in Europe as well is helping a lot. And teams are going a lot further. Teams are qualifying for the group stage, which can only benefit the league in the long term. And I think it's been said a lot about the facilities, and that's the next thing that needs to improve. Because I think the product on the pitch is actually really good, but I think if you're watching games on the telly and it's just a natural thing where maybe if people aren't as invested in the league, if they watch and they just see a not great stadium or anything, the product doesn't look as good as what it is. And so yeah, I think the league's definitely growing, but the facilities need to come up and match it now.
Yeah, as you said, obviously, do you think the standards have obviously improved and like the technical quality as well? But I definitely think physically and like athletically teams have kind of keep getting better every year on year. Would you have kind of like a toughest opponent to face maybe since signing for Pats, like a fullback who's always tough to get the better of?
Mm, yeah, there's lots of good ones. Like trying to think now, you put me on the spot here. Um, mm, Josh Monahan was very hard to play against. I'm quick and that's in the game, but he was always quick and very strong, and he could go either way. So I think we had a few good battles, and obviously he had an amazing season last year, and has gone away now, and hopefully he can do well at Lincoln. So I'd probably say Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I just kind of like to go back earlier in your career as well. Obviously, like during your time with the Ireland 21s, you obviously had the really good game against Sweden, and then following that, you signed for AIK in the Alphenscan. How did you find your time there in Sweden?
Yeah, overall I loved it. It's a massive club and it's a massive fan base, and I think people don't actually realize like how big it is. It's like life and death over there. Like I think when I first went over there, first season and a half was doing really well, and playing nearly every game, and we almost won the league in my first season, and maybe a bit like I was talking about like Keane Levy, where I had the good performances, but I didn't really have the numbers to match the performances. And then the manager got sacked and the sporting director got sacked, and then a new manager came in and a new sporting director came in, and they wanted to bring in their own players and sort of the in surplus to requirements. But I stayed there for an extra year just because I really loved being at the club. I loved everything about it. I loved the supporters. I loved just like sometimes in your career you connect with a club, and I felt like I really connected when I went out there from day one. I felt like the supporters really took to me as one of their own and gave me a lot of support even when there was a couple of difficult times, and I really felt that I had the support of everyone. So I wanted to stay and try force my way back in and really give it a go and try to make the most of it. But um, yeah, for one reason or another, there just wasn't another chance coming, unfortunately. But now I have nothing bad to say about the club, nothing bad to say about the supporters. I just still support them. I still look out for the results. When I went back to Sweden in November, I went and watched the game, and the club still treat me like one of their own. The supporters still treat me like one of their own. So now I loved it.
Yeah, and making that leap abroad, like I believe you got to like play with the likes of Mikael Lustig and Sebastian Larsson, two guys who obviously had hugely successful careers in the UK. Like what was that like? And I suppose is making that leap abroad something you would encourage Irish players to do? Obviously, we've seen how it's worked for the likes of Troy Parrott and Jake O'Brien in recent times.
Yeah, I think before I went out there, I always thought like England is the be all and end all. And like I said, it just opened my eyes in terms of how big football is out there, and playing in derbies in front of 50,000 people. And um, yeah, I think everyone's career is different, but for me, it was really the right thing to do. And it really, yeah, just opened my eyes to what's out there and a different style of football, a different way of life. And met my girlfriend who I'm still with out there. So it's definitely an option that young Irish footballers should look at. Like you mentioned, Troy is obviously the big one at the moment who's flying out there. And he obviously had a difficult spell in England and it wasn't working out, and he took it upon himself to go out there and try something different, and he's reaping the rewards of it. So yeah, it's definitely an option for young lads to look at, especially now with Brexit, and I think more lads are taking that upon themselves to go out there. And I think on the continent, teams are teams are less scared to give you the chance, which I think can be good.
Yeah, and just the final question on your time in Sweden. Like, there's been a good amount of kind of discourse around the quality of pitches and facilities in the League of Ireland this year. I know you referenced it earlier. How would you kind of compare like the pitches and facilities, even in like as you said, Sweden compared to Ireland, and how far behind do you think we are at the minute?
No, it's night and day to be honest. Like even the very small teams in Sweden have decent stadiums, like to the level of probably like a Tala Stadium, similar for that. Like the smaller teams in Sweden, they'd all have that, and it just, like I said, it just comes from investment from the local community, from the government, all that sort of stuff. A lot of teams play on, I'd say half the teams maybe play on artificial surfaces, but they're well maintained. They're new artificial surfaces. They're changed every couple of years, so it's not like the product doesn't suffer. It's not like you're getting a dodgy bouncing ball, or I think sometimes when you play on the old Astros, your knees, your joints and all can feel sore. But when I played out there, I never had that. And like you said, like people like Seb Larson were 37, 38 playing on that, and their body wasn't affected negatively or anything like that. So now there is, I think when I was out in Sweden, like it's a similar probably size of it's something that I think the league should be looking at in how to grow the league, because every game is on telly. It doesn't matter if it's a big game, a small game. Every game is on telly. Like I said, the stadiums are all decent. They all have their own training facilities. They all have proper academies. And so yeah, it's definitely something that can be looked at to help improve.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk on the 21s side you're involved as well. Like obviously hugely talented group with featured likes of like Nathan Collins, Jason I, Troy Parra, who we've mentioned, like a lot of future senior internationals, and it's obviously came really, really close to qualification. What was that kind of experience like with like such a hugely talented group and obviously under Stephen as well?
Yeah, I think it was a really exciting time at the time because we all knew obviously Stephen was going to go for the Ireland senior team, so there was obviously the thought that if you do well, then he might take you up there with you. And obviously, I think 12, 13, 14 of the lads went on to be capped. But now I think from the first camp, we realised that we had a group that could go and qualify. And we obviously went out to Toulon and played some big countries and beat them and got to the semi final there. And I think Stephen just put into us that we could beat anyone. And now, like, I was injured for the Brazil game, but the lads were saying before that we're going to beat these with no reason to fear. When we played Italy, they had big players, and it's not about them, it's about us, and we have nothing to fear. And no, it was a great time.
Yeah, you referenced there Stephen's kind of ability to really make players believe, I suppose, and even going up against the likes of Brazil and Italy. How kind of good, I suppose, is Stephen's man management, do you think? And have you any maybe examples of kind of moments where he's really kind of came through in that sense?
Oh, that's I think any player that's played under him will always reference his man management as probably his main skill and his main attribute. It's hard to think of specific examples. I think I mentioned before, back in the 21s days when I was just coming back from my shoulder injury, I'd been a massive part of it, and I played every game, and I came back. I think we were playing Armenia at home, um, and I wasn't sharp. I wasn't like really myself. And he just pulled me before he named the team just to tell me that I wasn't in the team and that it was nothing against me. He just knew myself that I wasn't ready to start and that he still had full belief in me, and he still really believed in what I could bring to the group. And then I started the next game against Sweden away and we won 3-1 and I had a good game. But it's just like little details like that. Not every manager will show you that respect. And I've had other managers that will not speak to you for the whole season, not speak to you for the whole year. So no, it's just little things like that.
Yeah, I won't give you too much longer, Zach. I just wanted to ask you as well. Like, obviously, you were part of like one of the last generations able to move to England before the Brexit restrictions. Like obviously now with the likes of Mason Melia, who you've played with, that kind of new generation of players who are staying in the league till they're 18 and then being able to move to England or wherever. How much of a benefit do you think is to them of staying and playing men's football here in Ireland rather than playing academy football in England? Obviously, you were on the other side of the coin. You obviously went over kind of when you were younger. And what kind of
Yeah.
side, where would you kind of stand in terms of that kind of argument?
I think when I was obviously going, it was different. I don't think the league was where it's at now. Like I said, every team is professional, and it's like I don't. It's not that it wasn't a proper league before, but it's a proper league now. It's a proper professional league. Mason was getting proper games, getting European exposure, all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think when I was going, it was different. And going, if you were a good player, down to England is the thing that you did. That was just it. We didn't really stay at home and try to play. I think now people going away at 18. I think even though it's still young, I think when I went away at 16, like you're very young to be going away. And you don't like in my case, I didn't think the clubs looked after you properly, to be honest. And like my first day there was just thrown into a digs and left there, and it was like I remember just thinking like, what do I do now? Like and there was no one to really help you. Um, and I ended up like in my first year moving three or four different digs, and it's just like it's hard to perform when when you're when you're like home life isn't settled, especially when you're 16 and just moving away from home. You need that support and you need to feel safe. Um, Whereas now, like in Naso's case, he's 18, he's grown up, like you said, he's grown up in football. He's a man now in football, but also in his life, he's a man. So he's ready to deal with the situations that come. Whereas, like I said, I think when I went over, it was very young, and there wasn't that support structure from the club in my experience. Although I have a great family who helped me and supported me. I didn't feel there was that from the club.
Yeah, and then just final question on obviously the game tomorrow night is of Derry away. And what are your thoughts heading into that one? And obviously another big game coming up next week with Rovers and Tala.
Yeah, I think the big games keep coming, and we're where we want to be. We want to be at the top of the table, challenging. We want to be playing in the big important games that mean something. Derry away is never easy. Going to the Brandywell is never easy. Obviously, we're down to a new place tomorrow that you don't really know what to expect. You don't know what the pitch is going to be like. But now Derry is always a tough game. Even when the lads played them at Richmond earlier on in the season, and Derry weren't in great form, it was still a tough challenge. So now they're in a bit of better form. They've got very good individuals, very good team. So now it's going to be difficult. And then, like you said, another game against Rovers in Tala. Rovers is obviously they're at the top, and they've been at the top for years. So it's never easy, but for the games you want to play in.
Yeah, listen, that's great, Zach. It's definitely going to be a cracker tomorrow night and again next week. And yeah, thanks very much for taking time out of your day and coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.
Cheers.